In this video, I will give you all 5 players in a full lineup plus bonus options for tonight's single game slate on FanDuel in 5 minutes or less, as the Arizona Cardinals, coming off of the most impressive Hail Mary finish to a game in 2020, fly into Seattle as they try to pick up their second win against the Seahawks. My name's Quick Pick Nick, and on the heels of this past weekend's peaking performances, I'm looking to continue our hot streak well into week 11, starting now. Last week was especially successful as one of my lineups was able to place in the top 0.1% of players in the biggest contest, ranking about 100th out of nearly 60,000 entrants, with the third best possible lineup that could have even been created. You can see proof of that very successful Monday Night Football dime of a lineup in the description below, but for now, let's get into the locks and lotteries from my hundreds of thousands of simulations for Thursday Night Football tonight, November 19th, 2020. If you like this kind of fast-paced, calculated content, subscribe and stay tuned for more lineups throughout the season, including a primary picks video tomorrow morning. Starting off this lineup with our first two locks, my model found the same pairing of the two locks from when these two NFC West teams met a few weeks back. These two guys surely didn't disappoint back then, and they will almost certainly be able to perform up to their standards tonight, as they are Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson. These two quarterbacks' surges in pricing is well worth the expense, as both of these players have the potential to score over 30 points tonight, with Murray scoring over 38 fantasy points and Wilson scoring nearly 33 fantasy points in week 7 when these two teams first faced off. Both quarterbacks have shown that they are able to get the job done against these particular defenses. The question for me isn't whether you should take either of these players, but rather where you should take each of them, as only one can be your MVP for tonight. Back in my winning lineup from week 7 single game slate, I decided to take the underdog of Kyler Murray over Russell Wilson in the MVP position, which ended up being the right decision. This time around, Wilson is the underdog, with Murray finding himself atop FanDuel's price list, and I still believe Murray is the right option tonight. Looking at it purely from a defensive standpoint, Murray has the significantly better matchup, facing a Seahawks defense that has allowed 353.3 passing yards per game, ranking last in the league in that category compared to the Cardinals' yards allowed through the air per game of about 250. Seattle is averaging 100 more yards allowed through the air to opposing quarterbacks than Arizona, opening the field for Murray and his promising wide receiver core. Plus, if you look at Seattle's defense's rushing statistics, the Seahawks rank 4th in rush yards allowed per game, but 30th in rush touchdowns allowed per game. What this information tells me is that although Seattle is pretty good at stopping the ball from being run down the field, once the pigskin is in the red zone around the goal line, they have a hard time accounting for the run game. Luckily for our MVP here, Murray is one of the top rushing quarterbacks in the league, ranking 1st in both overall rushing yards and rushing touchdowns, meaning if the Cardinals find themselves in a goal-to-go situation, it is very likely we could see another rushing touchdown from this second-year stud. Wilson is still a lock in this lineup, as although he has struggled over the past 2 weeks, throwing 2 picks in each game, the Cardinals have already shown they cannot contain both DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett a few weeks back, so unlike his games against more strict defenses like the Rams and Bills, Wilson will have flexibility in his decision-making tonight. For the third and final lock of this lineup, my model found a very cheap player who really opens up the rest of this lineup for some more expensive options, even with the inclusion of the top 2 quarterbacks, that being Dan Arnold. At only $5,500, we're really not expecting much here aside from potentially a high single-digit night to just take some pressure off of our budget. That kind of 7 to 8 point performance is exactly what my model believes is going to happen tonight, as in week 7 against Seattle, Arnold made some solid progress down the field in terms of yardage after a reception, recording nearly 60 yards on just 2 catches. As recent as last week, Arnold was able to bring down all 4 of his passes against Buffalo, and with both Darrell Daniels and Max Williams currently questionable for tonight's contest, Arnold might be the only viable tight end left on the Cardinals' depth chart, in which case he will certainly see an increasing usage throughout the night. For the final 2 lotteries, we do have some flexibility with our cash, so it's really up to you how to use the remaining $21,000, as there are plenty of viable combinations to be found. However, one combination in particular my model found included DeAndre Hopkins and Larry Fitzgerald, the former of which potentially made the play of the year last week and should be set up for another massive game, and the latter a veteran who has been seeing some serious usage lately with 5 or more targets over the past 3 weeks. If you want to go in a different direction though, and believe that Lockett might have another one of his 45-point performances like he did last time he faced Arizona, you could take him along Seattle's clear wide receiver 3 David Moore instead, while still staying under budget. Either of these 2 lineups looks appealing, and I don't think I'll shy away from the idea of just hammering both tonight. That's what my model was able to come up with for the Thursday Night Football single game slate on FanDuel tonight, this November 19th, 2020. This has been Quick Pick Nick, the intersection for sports, data analysis, and speed. Thanks for watching.